Meantime, my associate Mario had some news.
I didn't really think it was true. Like, I didn't want to believe it at first. But it's the truth. He hasn't been snoring for the last 3 nights. Now I don't hear him snore at all.
After an initial email, Clint Ober, the man who discovered grounding or earthing for modern man, contacted me. I explained to him how many people I knew were suffering in our community. He responded with this box. From then on, all I had to do was disseminate information and put together resources to anyone I knew that would benefit.
Word's getting out. Tim, are you there? Now you're in pain, right?
I am.
You got what's the matter?
Ruptured disc.
So you're in always pain.
Always.
Take this. Oh, you're here. So I just bumped into you.
Local business owners took this seriously. My reputation and hunch about grounding was now open to public scrutiny. Either this was going to change the community of Haines, Alaska, or I'd be the laughingstock of the town. Alaskans, it seems, are skeptical by nature and quite opinionated to boot.
Show me a better way, I'll do better.
Saying, Steve, that you should just take this thing and run with it and get it out to the public as fast as possible, to as many people as possible.
It's a concept I hadn't considered. So whether it makes sense or not, who's to say?
But I did crawl underneath the house and get naked and lay on the earth for about 20 minutes. And I felt better.
Why would the local doctor be so underwhelmed by this?
Uh-oh. Something happened here.
Everyone, and I'll tell you how dang good I feel without any back problems whatsoever.
Really? Has your back gotten better?
I have absolutely no pain in my back whatsoever.
And how long have you had this back pain prior to meeting on this earthing thing?
20 years. Day to day was a struggle.
My goodness.
Every day was a struggle to get through.
Oh, we got it in the truck. Well, the wolf will like that.
Almost everyone was being transformed, some literally overnight. So I placed calls with people at NASA for support in making this film.
Hey, Steve Cochelle, try to not get involved in any way with things that I don't understand or don't, really know what to think about them. So I just can't do it. I hope that this turns out to be a breakthrough. Good luck to you, Steve.
I got a message from the astronaut. He turned me down. He said it's too crazy. What do you think? Should I give up?
No.
Why? Why? Nobody's gonna believe this.
Believe what?
Believe that this works.
Well, he's not the only person in the world.
Well, he's the man to walk on the moon. He's pretty important.
So? Just because he turned you down doesn't mean that other people won't believe in it.
Nobody believes in this stuff unless you get a famous person to talk to and at least give their opinion, don't you think?
No. That's the everyday Joe that's going to need this more than the guys that's got millions of dollars.
I've been a filmmaker for 30 years, mainly for the likes of National Geographic. If there ever was a film that I needed to make about nature, this one was it. We started to do more research and met earthing advocates, including Clint Ober himself.
I'll say, is laying on the earth. Just laying down on the earth. You don't have to be naked. You're touching the earth. If you can take your shoes off, that's great. It's like no amount of Advil or Motrin or Aleve can do the anti-inflammatory power that the earth can.
I'm using part of my parka here so we can see you. I don't know if it's my coat sliding down.
No, it's just the connections, just barely there.
Okay, barely there. All right. If a raven flies by and sits on a branch on the hemlock right here, you're gonna lose you.
Our first Skype meeting with earthing discoverer Clint Ober and assistant Dr. Christie resulted in another shipment of boxes of information and resources to continue to ground our hometown. The deeper question needs to be asked.
If there is a message at all about earthing, it really is. It's not about bed pads and wires and all that kind of stuff. It's more about our connection with nature, with the planet, with the universe. You know, we invented plastics in the 57, I think, DuPont, and it started entering the market in the 60s. The first thing we did with plastics is we put them on the soles of our shoes.
It always amazes me how much insight and wisdom can be deciphered from observing nature. This wolf I live with, named Isis, was also raised with the help of my veterinarian, Dr. Vic Walker. Until this moment, Dr. Walker had no knowledge of what was happening regarding earthing and my involvement with it.
You got powerful jaws, don't they? They're barefoot, essentially. You're my veterinary, from the sanctioned by the state of Alaska to look over the animals here and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You love this wolf?
Oh, yes.
At this moment, Dr. Walker revealed the chronic pain and stress his wife was currently going through.
So she deals with inflammation and pain.
Mm.
Is that right?
Yes.
Give her this.
What's this, Steve?
Not a day went by that I wasn't amazed with reports from people in our town. As hints of spring began to become evident, I kept a close eye on the snow lines for the first opportunity to become emancipated from footwear. With the longer days and warm winds, one of the family decided to suddenly wake up after months of hibernation. Her name is Kitty, a 5-year-old grizzly bear, orphaned as a cub and given to me by the state of Alaska to take care of for the rest of her life. Here's another creature, gifted with the extension of the senses we seem to have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. The awakening of the bear also awakened something in me, something that said how beautiful the natural cycle of life is, how precise rhythmic patterns of the earth work, and how the hum of the earth is in sync with the moon and the forces beyond that. How beautiful it all is. And this is where this film takes another turn. While tossing frozen salmon out of the freezer for the bear, I realized that my assistant was right. The astronaut that turned down involvement on this movie project was not the only human to set foot on the lunar surface. 12 of them did. And now, 2 were suddenly willing to contribute their time to this movie. We were set to meet on a Florida beach. By the time I arrived with the film crew in Cape Canaveral, Florida, it all became dreamlike. It was here where I was going to meet Laura Conover, a medical doctor who was going to help with these interviews.
There's 3 rooms under Richard Smith.
Richard Smith? Would you like a grounded or non-grounded room?
What?
Smoking or non-smoking?
Non-smoking.
Non-smoking.
The film crew couldn't resist letting the hotel receptionist in on the subject matter of this documentary. But it did plant a seed of an idea in my mind to share with the motel owner back in Alaska. A far cry from my first earthing experience, there was a very comfortable way for civilized people to receive the same earth energy in the form of a conductive bedsheet.
Life's an adventure. So I went out.
But who do I have to thank for this chance introduction? None other than our beloved rooster, Squawky. Laura was about to help me meet 2 people with a unique perspective about the earth.
I was going to say, Dr. Mitchell, I know that you experienced a really intimate moment where you felt interconnected with everything,
yes.
even in space.
Okay.
There was no script for this shoot, and of course none of this was staged. I had my film crew from National Geographic, Laura and her family, and a strong desire to document different perspectives about the Earth, its healing power, and the interconnectedness of all life therein.
And I remember I watched you describe a moment where this just hit you, it just washed over you. You had this moment where you felt interconnected to not just the Earth, but the stars, everything.
That's exactly experiencing that particular phenomenon. I didn't know what to call it at that point.
Right.
Cultures are rooted in this type of unity experience. It says everything's all interconnected.
Honor. Yeah, gifts for you.
After listening to what Dr. Mitchell shared, and before we ran out of time, I had one chance to give him the same tools for connecting to the Earth, just like everyone back home.
1130.
Laura was now speaking with Charlie Duke, the 10th man to walk on the moon on Apollo 16, and the director in Houston to guide Apollo 11 and Neil Armstrong to become the first man to walk on the lunar surface.
ATA at a descent. Mode control, both auto, descent engine command, over. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Okay, they want to know how excited were you when you put your first footstep on the moon?
Well, I was like a little kid.
Charlie Duke also did this interview barefoot. He too understood that the ground beneath our feet is a natural treatment table for what ails us. He saw it all as intelligent design.
Now I look back on my adventure, and there's a psalm that says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the works of His hand." And it is not an accident, it's not a chance, it's just an orderly universe that we see, and the planets and their courses and the stars and all of the physical laws that are so repeatable over and over and over again. And I see God's hand in that.
Laura had a deep knowledge of how grounding works. She had no reservations in inviting me back to her home in Charleston, South Carolina, to explain all this. It was in Dr. Conover's home that I could see her vision and understanding about how earthing works and what it can do for humanity. But then she didn't stop there. It seemed there was this inner drive to suggest this comprehensive healing modality through her many painted creations. So profound, yet so simple, that even a preschooler could comprehend. Dr. Conover was very much aware of the scientific research conducted over the past 15 years on earthing. She believes the future of healthcare will be vastly different for her children because of it. Before I left, she agreed to do more research on earthing with her own patients. Arriving home, I was relieved that my assistant Rocky Seward had kept everyone happy. In my hometown, there continued to be profound and life-impacting reports. At the Eagle Foundation, for example, there was Dave Ulrud, who had been a paraplegic for 30 years, in a state of unimaginable suffering, barely able to twitch his toes. Until now. He had only been grounded a month.
Thanks for the moose branches.
You're welcome.
What are you going to help me, what's that?
That's a drawing thing for lady. She get it back because she can't get too well or she'll lose her disability. It's okay?
But then there was Rocky himself, a man who lives a hard life and sort of is homeless, who sleeps in his truck each night, until I invited him to stay with me in the cabin. There was no way I would ever get a good night's sleep with that type of situation happening on the couch, 4 feet away from my bed. The next night, Mr. Seward agreed to allow me to hook him up to the earth in an experiment. He had nothing to lose, really, since he'd never gotten a true night's sleep anyway, due to waking up choking and with a headache and more. You guessed it. He never snored again. My associate Mario rendezvoused with me at a street corner in Vancouver to meet this host. His name is Dr. David Suzuki. But who is he really?
He's probably one of the most well-known scientists of our age. He's a national hero in Canada, and he's probably one of the most eminent ecologists that people recognize.
You think I should tuck my shirt in?
Yeah, maybe.
Dr. Suzuki.
Hi.
Hello, nice to meet you. I've been following you since I was a little kid.
Okay. Where are you now?
Well, live in Alaska.
In Alaska?
Outside of Haines, Alaska.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is Mario Bonassi. He's
Hi.
an associate of mine. We used to shoot for PBS and all of these different things, nature shows. But between the two of us, I don't think we've ever been so tongue-tied to meet.
Come on. Come on, let's go on.
Okay. Okay, you lead the way.
Yeah, okay. So you haven't visited this place?
I have never been here.
I explained to Dr. Suzuki how our town was benefiting from earthing and asked if he thought reconnecting to the Earth's energy field would be beneficial.
Absolutely. We need to be connected with the Earth, which gave us birth. The moment I was born, I needed a breath of air, as did everyone else. And from that time to the last breath we take before we die, we need air 15 to 40 times a minute. That's nature, man. We take air into our bodies, we fuse with it, and pump it through our systems. We are air. We are water. 70% of my body is water, for heaven's sakes, and we leak it all the time through our skin and our eyes and our nose and our crotch, and we lose water, and we have to keep topping up. That water comes from all over the world. We are a part of nature. That's what we are. But we think that we've grown so smart and that we can actually pump nature up and get it to yield even more. Cut the trees down, we'll genetically modify and genetically alter trees so they grow faster. Of course, the quality of the wood is crap, but we think that we can grow trees as if they're corn or tomato plants, which is absurd, of course. We have now become the most numerous mammal on the planet, but we're not like wildebeest or mice or caribou. We are endowed with huge amounts of technology, a consumptive appetite that is insatiable, and we are trashing the planet as a result. And we're trashing our home. It's our home.
We were fortunate enough on this journey to meet historian Freddie Silva, who clearly understood the Earth's energy fields from the perspective of the intuitions of ancient people.
What is it that you were doing that brought you out to the west coast here of Canada?
I sort of work with ancient systems of knowledge. I'd look at and research how the ancestors worked and built temples around the world, look at the ways in which they develop common attitudes to developing consciousness, and then find that there are commonalities between these points of view that are shared by different cultures around the world.
Mr. Silva pointed out that earthing is not a new discovery, just a rediscovery of what the ancients already knew would help them to heal. I was now literally connected to the Earth almost 24/7. The remarkable way I was being affected made me ponder that most people in modern societies are almost never in direct contact with the Earth's surface. No wonder so many people walk around fat, sick, and nearly dead. Sometimes nothing prepares us for the devastating stress and emotional upheavals that can lay claim to your life. The first thing grounding does is calm the nervous system. It soothes the left side of the brain and synchronizes the right and left brain. Where I found pain relief was to do what the ancients did. Immerse myself unclothed into the earth. It's like throwing a bucket of water on a fire as opposed to using just a cup. More exposed skin allows the earth electrons to flow into one with much more volume and intensity. An event was taking place now. It involved grounding 1,000 people all at the same time during a 70-minute presentation organized by Clint Ober, the discoverer of earthing for modern man. First, there was Carol Alt, who spoke about body care, and with that, comes the realization for millions of women that earthing is the holy grail for beauty care. But the main event was Dr. Christie, who upon taking center stage would instruct everyone to begin grounding themselves during her talk.
Yes.
As Clint Ober observed this group, he looked confident that it wouldn't take long for grounding to affect everyone in the room.
We're gonna have a good time.
I was nowhere near prepared for the number of people that were affected by being grounded that came back and wanted to talk to me. How do you interview almost 1,000 people?
It's such a simple and so profound and powerful concept. And it's right there beneath our feet. This is what just blows me away. I've been writing about health for 35 years.
I got a call from the state of Alaska, another orphaned animal, this time a baby moose. Because she was likely a mere 48 hours old, I had to keep her safe from hungry wild grizzlies, and so I put her in a bear-proof horse trailer with the doors shut temporarily. I named her Karen. Because the horse trailer kept Karen ungrounded, I devised a way to reconnect this moose calf to the earth with a grounding pad. She instinctively knew where to lie down, whether it was concealed or not. The next step was an exercise in reality having to do with true nutrition. This moose primarily needed raw milk with all the live enzymes. If it was pasteurized, she would likely die. Yet, I'm amazed that people are told there is no difference at the grocery store. The flow of people to my porch wanting to be grounded never let up, and word continued to spread. By the time the daisies were in bloom, I was elated with the return of my son Garrett from his work down south. Garrett and his 19-year-old girlfriend, Esther, were somewhat aware of earthing, but wanted to learn more. I would show them. It was just a matter of time. The plants themselves had something to say about earthing. More and more people in our town wanted to be grounded. It was overwhelming. Garrett and Esther were now part of the team. I wanted to make an impression on these two kids and collected as many plants as I had room for to replicate and verify. I just laid back and watched. If grounding is all a placebo effect in humans, then the results with plants would be pretty black and white, I thought. Vegetation can't lie. Inspired by the moose calf's natural connection to the earth, I found myself going barefoot most of the time too. I felt like a kid again. As time passed, my veterinarian, Dr. Walker, returned with his family. By now, even he had experienced what earthing had rendered. By this time in town, my assistant Rocky Seward was called to help replace a sign. An official declaration to our entire community and beyond. The first motel in the nation to offer overnight accommodations, grounded. On the other side of the continent, Dr. Laura Conover also had studies underway. Her interviews with the Apollo astronauts gave her inspiration. They too were running trials with plants.
Joe, come on back now.
While simultaneously conducting earthing trials with patients.
Tell me how the study went for you.
The main reason I wanted to do this was because anytime you say, oh, walk outside in your bare feet and lose weight, that would be awesome.
I have loved the study. I noticed that I was sleeping better, I had a deeper sleep.
And now long term, I don't have pain at all anymore.
I can't say enough how much of a difference this has made in my life.
Laura's children took these patient results in like they were multiple miracles. And the lab results stunned everyone. Then renowned cardiologist Dr. Stephen Sinatra heard of the study.
Never before in the history of humankind do we have to ground.
Laura Conover continued to email all of us, particularly my son Garrett and his girlfriend Esther. It caused these kids to question everything. Everything from the food we eat, to the drugs people take, to what they were taught in science class in high school. And above all, why we all wear rubber-soled shoes. Grounding soon caught the attention of outsiders, like a film crew that were working on an episode for National Geographic. The show's host took a particular interest in what happens to plants. I pointed out clinical case studies online with the Geographic team of the seemingly miraculous disappearance of chronic inflammation in patients, verified by thermography, which distinctly depicts reduction in inflammation through color temperatures. As for Garrett and Esther, it was time to whet their appetites. This phenomena is bigger than all of us, beyond the greatest health discovery ever. It may encompass much, much more. The curiosity of these two kids now led them on a quest, just like me. I agreed to support their research, wherever that might take them. Garrett and Esther learned that the ancients had a clear comprehension of the Earth's subtle electrical fields and the planet's negative charge. Gothic cathedrals were oftentimes built exactly upon energy hotspots. All of these sites, whether conical mounds or stone circles, were built with impressive precision, rivaling any technology we possess today. The architectural design that was implemented in building Gothic cathedrals was carefully planned out with a purpose behind it all. It was to harness and channel subtle Earth energy directly down corridors and spaces. In 2008, when NASA announced that the Earth is linked to the Sun by a network of magnetic portals, they essentially validated the ancient temple builders who sourced these very flux events on the land and their connection beyond our terrestrial sphere. Then I was determined to meet someone who could infuse insight, answers, and hope. John Stuart Reed brought me to an ancient stone circle site called Long Meg and Her Daughters, which is considered one of the largest stone circles in the UK next to Stonehenge. It is in this cow pasture where John and I began some analysis of the breadth and width of these individual stones and their formational link to the Earth's energy. These stones, put here thousands of years ago along with their inscriptions, have weathered the test of time. What were these ancient secrets? I was about to find out. Experiments are conducted inside a special room called the Faraday cage. It is in this environment where studies take place with instruments such as the cymoscope, which uses a few drops of water to manifest frequencies.
It's an audio oscillator, and we're going to set it to the Schumann cavity resonance of 7.83 hertz.
The frequency of the Earth. It has never been seen before like this. This heartbeat occurs in the spherical cavity between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere.
Whoa.
It's almost as if the universe is trying to tell us something, perhaps synchronicity. The brains of all creatures, including humans, are tuned to this frequency and this pattern, simply with water and light. The frequency of the Earth made visible for the first time ever, yet the same design carved on rocks thousands of years earlier. The world's top mathematicians are now extrapolating mathematical equations from this sacred geometry. Then I heard about a teenage girl named Ray Heim who was running barefoot coast to coast. I wanted to cheer her on. If successful, she would become the youngest and only female who ever ran across America, not to mention doing it barefoot. The odds were against her. She was running to raise awareness of children who live in poverty. Because of the oppressive heat and drought conditions Ray was running through, I thought the best place to meet would be where there was both shade and free energy. Ray had no idea why I chose a sunflower field to meet in. She was running on asphalt most of the time, which is non-conductive, and since the soil was so parched, it was also non-conductive. However, Ray could receive earth energy if all she did was touch one thing. The roots of the sunflower went deep into the earth, and so the moist stem was essentially a grounding rod, giving Ray Earth's power. Now aware of the secret, Ray was gifted with an edge. Back home in Alaska, earthing was now the talk of the town, and for many who didn't want to go barefoot for various reasons, there was a solution. By drilling holes in shoes and sandals and inserting a conductive plug, the Earth's energy could go back up into the foot, next best thing to barefoot. And then a lady from New York heard about what was happening in our town. She knew that not everyone would want to wear grounded sandals. She had options. Grounded shoes.
They're wonderful. I'm kind of the kind that thinks that it's not going to work.
No, I think the science is really indisputable about the benefits. So these are 7.
There are very good reasons to think that this may very well be the most important health discovery ever, and it's something you all need to know about. Electrostatics is a branch of physics, and it teaches us that when two conductive objects make contact, if they have different electrical potential, they equalize virtually instantaneously. You may know that penicillin was a revolution in medicine. This is a revolution in healthcare that I think transcends penicillin.
Dr. James Oshman studied at the Marine Biological Laboratory under Nobel Prize winner Albert Szent-Györgyi, the biochemist who did research of electronic biology in the 80s. Dr. James Oshman responded to all the questions that Esther and Garrett sent him. He emailed information and illustrations which quantified and verified the scientific research, including the double-blind placebo studies and the clinical trials that were conducted over a period of 15 years. How beautiful to know, and yet how tragic to realize that much of humanity has never heard of grounding. Because of profound effects that earthing has on women of all ages, Dr. Laura Conover would email Esther and Garrett pictures she painted that spoke in subtle detail of this fact. Children who practice earthing that have been studied have been shown to have profound reductions in physical and emotional issues. One study of 28 parents of autistic children found a dramatic change in behavior and communication skills after grounding the children only 2 months. And then I had an opportunity to visit my parents in Minnesota. And both of my parents had health issues that recently were miraculously wiped away by earthing. If earthing worked for them, it was a strategy that would know no boundaries of age, race, color, or creed or circumstance. At the urging of my parents, I flew to nearby Chicago, where there was another advocate of earthing, who is known to millions of people around the world. This is a doctor who does not accept conventional medicine at face value, and who successfully shines a light on true healing and environmental sustainability. Not surprisingly, living grounded is something this man had been doing for the past 8 years.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It is.
His name is Dr. Joseph Mercola, the physician that we had seen in February on a show discussing grounding with Dr. Oz.
Do you go barefoot a lot?
Most of the time,
Yeah.
except when I'm driving or have to do a professional video shoot.
My cab driver looked like he already knew about this ancient wisdom.
I'm going to listen to some of Mercola's comments here again, okay? Do you want to hear them too? Okay.
There's a famous German philosopher, his name is Arthur Schopenhauer, and he had a comment about truth, which is really quite amazing, I think most appropriate to when we're considering a topic like grounding. And his statement was, it is ridiculed, then it becomes violently opposed, and then finally it becomes widely accepted as self-evident.
What do you think about Dr. Mercola's viewpoints on walking barefoot?
My grandparents say almost same things. Walking on the grass is very healthy, especially your heart.
In this journey, if that's what you could call it, I now noticed within myself a renewed sensitivity about the subtle details of nature, the flow of the seasons, the dance of life. And when it came to personal emotions about the affairs of the heart, a stronger belief in the ultimate power of love and the value of patience and understanding and the ability to operate on faith emerged. Everyone around me seemed happier. Now I could see patterns never noticed before, from the basic designs of a beehive to the arrangement of leaves and seeds of a sunflower to the mathematical consistencies of the design of everything. Nothing was random.
It's more about our connection with nature, with the planet, with the universe.
Cultures are rooted in this type of unity experience. It says everything's all interconnected.
It's not an accident. It's not a chance. It's just an orderly universe.
An orderly universe, all right, even within our bodies. To many people, Earth energy remains abstract. But what if I could document the rate at which red blood cells travel after a subject is grounded for a mere 2 hours? It's a scientific visual. It's a fact that blood thins significantly when one is grounded. Thus, earthing becomes a major factor in battling heart disease. As I flipped the switch for the blood to be influenced by a controlled DC electric field, we could now see the difference of blood velocity before and after 2 hours of earthing.